Welcome everyone to another YouTube video with Bronwyn Verncombe. Have I pronounced that right?
You have, yes. Well done. Thank you very
Amazing.
much.
Today we are talking about a strategy which is quite unusual in the sense that it's not sort of spoken about very often. It probably doesn't happen that commonly, and it's definitely not taught on courses as far as I can see. But before we get into that strategy, let's talk about COVID-19 really briefly because everyone's talking about it. But we are, recording this on the 21st of April. So we're, 3 or 4 weeks into lockdown, 2 or 3 more weeks left. Briefly, how has coronavirus affected your business and your properties?
Well, yes, it's been interesting. It's been fascinating to see the different parts of my business, but also other people that I have in my network. And it's so important to talk to people because sometimes your problems become out of proportion. And when you speak to other people, you think, oh my goodness, I'm very lucky. So I've been investing now for 6 years, so I've got quite different type of portfolio. I've got single lets, a couple of holiday lets, and I've got HMOs. Only six HMOs, which is wonderful, in Portsmouth and Southampton, so down on the south coast. So that's one part of the business. And for those, I've got really good agents who are investors themselves, who I know extremely well, and they're very, very good at communicating with tenants. And so that they've been talking to the tenants very, very early on and making sure that they're there to support them and to make sure that if they're in a situation where they can't pay, that we know really early and we can negotiate and work together. So we've been piling in information to help tenants right from the day one, not waiting and hoping they'll pay. So that's okay. We're okay with those at the moment. Holiday lets are interesting. So one's been empty. Of course, everything was cancelled from Airbnb and Booking.com, but we then had a couple of contractors who are working locally and sort of emergency workers. They phoned up for a booking and there we go. We had them for 2 weeks. So that's good. They've just gone. But so there are people out there that are happy. We then wait and we don't clean the place for a couple of days. We get the team that come in, just to then clean it properly, but wait for the COVID to hopefully, if they did have it. Anyway, long story. So that's the residential properties. I've then got guest house business, which I'll come to in a minute, and we've adapted a little bit on that. And then we've got some developments. So we've just finished an 8-house development. It's taken us 12 months from start to finish. We've just got a beautiful show home ready. All 8 have finished and they're looking beautiful, but we haven't been able to have our launch at Easter that we'd hoped to have. So they're sitting there empty. But, I know they will sell once people can start to view again. So we've just got to make sure that the investors are happy and the lender's happy, and they are at the moment. So we're fine. And then I've got a property I'm selling, which is an office block that's we got permitted development to convert to flats. That exchanged in February. We haven't completed yet, so we're going through an interesting discussion on that one. But watch this space because I will talk about that in future once we've sorted it.
Well, yeah. I think you're doing the right things. You're being proactive. You're also understanding that SA is, potentially is going to tank just because of the market. It may not, and you're feeling it, but. Yeah, I think sometimes it's just understanding that, okay, shit's gone wrong. Let's just deal with it, as opposed to sort of wishing it wouldn't go wrong. Yeah. Enough of COVID-19. Let's talk about your strategy, or one of the strategies that you currently employ. Tell me about this, because, before we spoke on air, you said 26 beds, assisting the homeless. It sounds like a very interesting strategy. So yeah, tell me all.
Yeah, thank you. It is, and we stumbled across it as you do in this industry. We try different things, and you've got different plans. And we came across this property 4.5 years ago now, something like that. So fairly early on, but we'd established HMOs and we got that running pretty well. And then we thought we'd just go a little bit bigger, we'd just add a zero, and not our own money, I hasten to add, but, what could we do with a larger property? And we found this property. It was being sold by a charity, and we thought, well, we can convert it to flats. that's one strategy. And the other was, what's its current use? And it was owned by charity and was being let, the rooms are being let to, I think, young offenders out of prison, I think. So it was interesting. So the planning was, you can let those rooms for up to so many months on a per night basis. So we thought, great, why don't we do that? Which strategy shall we do it? 26 bedrooms, it's huge, it's a big property, but it has a self-contained flat, it had the proper fire alarms, it was run professionally by a charity. So we thought, great, well, let's start trying different tenant types out. The contractors, it was fairly low end contractors, people that want cheap rooms in the middle of Southampton. And then we came across, we started working with a guy who owned a pub, who also let rooms above his pub. We were going to buy another pub. He was helping us with that. Anyway, he said to me, well, let me come and have a look. And his phone was ringing and ringing. And he kept saying, no, I haven't got any rooms left. I haven't got any rooms left. And I'm like, who are these people? And it was the local authority. And he said, yeah, I house people, emergency housing for the local council. And these are people who are, they've got council properties, but maybe they've had a fire, a flood, or a problem where they've got to be housed away from their homes very quickly. So I said to him, well, if you can fill the rooms, why don't we work together? And long story short, we tried it out, and we thought, the councils really liked our setup. We made sure that the rooms, the big family rooms, had cooking facilities and enough space for families to actually be together, which was really important in this sector. And our research said that currently councils use pretty smelly, horrible, rundown B&Bs where the owner doesn't really care too much. And we thought, no, we're going to do this a bit different. And it's been really successful. So much so that 26 beds, now we've been operating for 4 years. But we've now got 3 others, not all the same strategy, but the one that we took on last year while we were in Australia, actually, but is being run by the same team. We decided that we would look at maybe street homeless, because the council approached us and said, during the winter period, we don't really want to have street homeless at risk, and the government are happy to pay us to house people. So would you like to work with us so that we can find a way that's going to be suitable for you, but also for us? And that's what we did last winter. And that's been a huge success. I mean, lots of issues, of course, at times, lots of issues. These people are very vulnerable, but also they're quite difficult at times. So what we agreed with the council was to make sure that if they stayed overnight, they had to see a social worker or somebody that was qualified. And that was all part of them staying. And also during COVID now, we have people come in twice a week to actually check their temperature and make sure they haven't got any symptoms. So yeah, we tried that over the winter, and the great success was that nearly over half now have actually found proper accommodation at the next level. So we've got them off the street. They're still being helped, of course, but before they didn't know where to go for help, whereas now they can. So really, yeah, during COVID, we've got another B&B that is on booking.com, where we thought, well, that's empty. And the council said to us, you're already housing 20 people. Can you house another 20? Because we've got to take them off the street. There was no choice. They had to find somewhere. So we actually turned over this one property into street homeless. So that's really been good for us, and good for the community too. It's hard for our team, of course. So they've had to, make sure that they're, managing that. And over Easter, it's particularly difficult because there weren't many people to help out. I've had to source food and things. We give them breakfast bags and things. But it's working really well, and it's an unusual strategy. So I really want to get out there that this works well, because you do get good room rates as well, of course, and it's per night room rate. But at the same time, you're helping local vulnerable people, so it's quite rewarding.
No, definitely, and I mean, I think that's probably the most important part of it, is that you are helping people like this, which is
Yeah,
totally, against what the Daily Mail thinks that we do as landlords. uh,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I I think, I can just imagine the multiples of challenges that you kind of have with these things. But, what people are probably really wanting to know is, was it cash intensive to buy and set up? And then on the flip side, how much sort of cash, whether it's the actual number or it's a percentage, does it sort of produce every month? Maybe even versus what it would as flats or as a HMO or something like that. How does it all
Yeah,
stack up?
yeah. Yes, it's very, very interesting to look at it, because you've got additional costs and things to consider. So we always have a live-in manager. So the property's got to be big enough, really, to have a self-contained flat for the person that's managing it. And that's important, because some of these people need attention. Equally, if they are kicking off for any reason, or they've got a particular issue and they're not behaving within the rules, then we do need to ask them to leave, and we do ask them to leave. But we need somebody physically there to pick that up. We have CCTV, and so you've got to think, what happens if, because that's what stops people from doing this. They immediately think, people with addiction and mental health issues and da-di-da. Well, the council have different definitions of different need. So what they call, Southampton call emergency housing, is one thing. They have children's department where vulnerable children and families can be housed. You've then got street homeless, which is a very different department, and you've got mental health problems and NHS step down. So there are different types of vulnerability, and you can define to the council what it is you're prepared to have. You don't just accept anybody. And also, because it's short term, there's no contract with the individuals, so that if they're not behaving, you can ask them to leave, just as if it was a hotel. They have no rights to remain. Now, some people might think that's hard. Well, no, it isn't, because there are rules, and there are rules in place because there are other residents in the property. So you've got to have a large enough for somebody to live in, ideally. Yeah, the way we funded that one was with investors, and we did a bridging loan on that one initially. So partly bridged, partly private investors. And after that, we've done purchase lease option on an empty bed and breakfast. So that's with the owner. So we pay him a monthly rent, and we've got an option to buy it at the end of 6 years, I think that one was. And then the other two are on long leases. So the landlord's leasing them to us on a monthly rent. It's a long lease, so it's 10, 12 years, because we want certainty in that. And because they didn't want to sell them to us, we want to invest our capital to improve them and to put them in the right type of environment, really. So to do that, we need a long lease to do it. So to answer your question, does it make money? Well, absolutely it does. Because if a council's happy to use you, we invoice them and they pay us off invoice. If one council's prepared to use you, other councils will want to use you, and they all talk to each other. So we have 5 councils that use us in the Hampshire area. But word of warning, there might be other councils in different parts of the UK. They all do things slightly differently. So just because it works in Southampton doesn't necessarily mean it works elsewhere. But I do know, and I do mentor people elsewhere where it does work. So the returns are very high, because we've got a per room rate per night. The large family rooms we can rent those up to £89 per night for the family. And the cheapest we do is £29, £30 per night for the single. And that's a cold breakfast for people who don't have cooking facilities, and the family rooms have got cooking facilities, so they can cook for themselves, which is really, really good. And they love that, because they can be a family unit. And it's a safe, secure place for them. All our bathrooms are shared bathrooms. There's no en suites, which again makes it easier. There's loads of bathrooms, and we make sure we add more if we need to. So the return on investment, difficult to say because it's a trading business, this is. So here you're looking at the profitability and the turnover. In that 26 bed, we turn over £300,000 a year. And the profitability is excellent. So our investors we worked out the other day, they get over 35% return on their investment at the moment. So we pay them dividends on that. But we're not taking advantage. We are very, very careful with our strategy, and we refurbish and we make these places really good, lovely places for people to have as their home, because that's what it is for this short period of time. The homeless is different, so we do get per night room rates, and that is guaranteed whether their rooms are used or not. Because sometimes some street homeless will be very grateful that they've got the opportunity. They'll come in, they'll have a shower, maybe have a hot meal, but they'll go back out on the street again because they don't like being enclosed, some people, and that, so that's interesting. So it's not about whether they're there or not, it's just that we provide that opportunity, and currently we're completely full and we're trying to find more rooms to help. But yes, we've had fights in the streets in the middle of the night. We've had to call security, and the council provide that. That's another thing really important, because that was a part of the package that we agreed with them, was that if somebody's being violent and if they're not behaving, and our live-in manager needs help and support, that will come from our team, but it needs to come from somebody professionally. And so we have a phone number we can call, and they will come round. We've even asked if they'll come and just base themselves locally, just in case. So yeah, that we do have problems, but the reward is the smile on the face of those people that see that you genuinely care, and you've got rules, but you adhere to the rules. We absolutely do care. You don't adhere to the rules, then I'm sorry, we've given you a chance. Yeah. But we are not qualified either to manage vulnerable people, so we do our best. And so far it's working well, but let's see how much longer we have to house these people. But I know that we will get people out off the street by doing this, so that's why I'm really keen to talk about it. So
yeah, and I think it's a fantastic thing to be doing. And as you said, it has problems, it has challenges, like any strategy will. So again, if people are thinking about this, or just anything that's sort of bigger than what they're currently doing, just remember, more money, more problems. The bigger it is, the bigger the problem. So just be wary of this. But I think, look, everyone, speak to your local councils, like investigate what the opportunities and what the possibilities are. Your council sounds super friendly. I don't know a single council who sounds that nice.
Well, it's taken time, I can tell you. Yeah. It was that we had this one person that had the relationship already. So they already knew him and they trusted him, and they had that relationship. Now it takes time to build that up. So absolutely talk to your council. Quite often they'll go, because they do get inundated sometimes by people who just don't understand. So do your research, have a chat with me. I do mentor this strategy because I really want it to work for people. So come and pick up all the stuff I know. Happy to share.
Amazing.
And yes, it isn't easy, but give it a go. And if you've got some experience, even if it's SA, a little bit about, you've got to change the sheets, you've got to have cleaners in, and all that stuff. If you've already got a bit of experience, it's not difficult to take it to the next level.
Absolutely. And I will leave your contact details in the notes below this on YouTube, and a link to your book so people can go buy it. Thank you very much for joining me.
That book.
Yeah, that one there.